my new effects cards came in yesterday for this thing. So now it's fully loaded. I've got every effects card that they ever made that goes inside this unit. This thing has been fun to play with. The problem is that, like, I don't want to relearn a new system, but this system was advanced and super cool when it was a thing back in the day. Today, it's a little bit kludgy and a little bit slow, but I'm having fun. Having fun playing with this. I was making cool sounds with this last night. Okay, I was digging around today. I had to show this on video. I was digging around today. A guy called me up and he said he wanted a band selector for an SB220 or 221. I'm like, those I've got. This is probably the rarest of the rare. This is for an SB221 conversion for 10 meters, legit kit, directly from Zenith. And this is what the kit looks like. I would argue that this virginal stock wafer is most likely the most expensive part for SB220s in the face of the earth, just because they're so hard to find. But this kit completed, I've never even seen one of these before. I do remember where this come from now, and I do remember how I got it. This kit has got to be worth like stupid money. Stupid money. I'm telling you. Okay, let's shut this off and let's get this put away. And it's time for me to do something that you guys actually might give a shit about or care. I don't know. I did the roll and repair video on this one when I first got it, and it was like a dud for a video, so I don't know. Still looking for that meter board. I got one guy, his name's Matt, nice dude, super nice guy. I can't seem to, every time I get an extra couple $1,000s laying around, something in my life comes along and just snuffs it away. I think that's the case for most things in this world, but I'm just saying. Okay, so you guys tuned in to see a Heathkit video, or not a Heathkit video, a Henry video. Let's get to that. Gentlemen, I'm BBI. Let's go play. This is so rare, I don't even know where to start, man. Like, I totally forgot this little piece of tissue paper was in here. And what's in this straight out of the 70s little roll of tissue paper is the mint never been put on anything SB220 conversion faceplate for the SB220. I found this today when I was looking for a band switch. A guy needed a band switch really bad, and I'm like, well, yeah, I got a couple used ones. So I'm going to sell him this one here. There's nothing wrong with this band switch, other than somebody's been in here and spaghetti fucked it. So, like, I couldn't sell him this band switch. They're on obtainium. But this used thing, all he's after is the wafer, because he broke his in half, which is very easy to do, by the way. So I was digging around in the SB220 bin. Yeah, I've got everything in totes over here, otherwise it'd all be perma-coated in dust. I was digging around in that bin today, and I'm like, what's in this little box? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the gentleman that allowed me to do the complete kit build of an SB220, he sent this to me. I don't even want to venture a guess on what this box, its value is, with its parts and the instructions and everything else. This, I don't even want to venture a guess. It's a lot. That front wafer is probably worth $500. at least. Well, let's go talk about something else completely rare and unobtainium. And I just want to go back and fix Texas stars and shit. Okay, gentlemen, what we have here is a very rare Heathkit, or not Heathkit, goddamn, Henry SS750, and it's the only one I've ever seen with a blue face. The other two that have been here are that weird lemon yellow faces. This one's pretty rare, and all the stuff that goes along with it, pretty rare. This does have a full remote with it, a full up Henry remote, believe it or not. And I've already taken a look at this. I picked this up in New Jersey. I bought part of a guy's estate, and I bought all of his Henry stuff that he had. My friend Unit 22 was totally cool enough to drive 200 and, I can't remember what he said, 75 million miles, baby. He drove over to the guy's house. It was in southern Jersey, I think. And acquire all this stuff and then sit on it for a year and very meticulously keep it out of the moisture and go out and rub it every Sunday with the diaper. Okay, you're not gonna come willy-nilly. I'm gonna have to put actual torque force to you. So anyhow, I drove up there when I was back east. It's been over a month now since I picked this stuff up. And I picked this stuff up from him. I went and I got my stuff. He dropped off his stuff and picked up my stuff. It was part of my motivation for coming across the United States. I already know everything that's wrong with this, but we're going to go through it together. This is what the stock ass end of an SB7 or Henry SS750 looks like. We're not going to change this much from stock. This is your ground. This is your hot lead. We're going to leave this pretty much as is. Okay, everybody. Prepare to smell the 80s. Let's disconnect that. And we disconnect that. And then we disconnect this. This is the most intact and complete Henry SS750 that's ever been on this bench. Ever. You can still, to this day, go buy about 90% of these parts that make this thing up. Either it be the band selector, filter board, your output filtering board, or either be the boards from Communications Concepts. But the whole form factor with the sealed relay, the combiner you can still get from Communications Concepts. These are resistors, believe it or not, that are right here. Ooh, way over white balanced. Let's dial that back a minute because it's so shiny in there. This is our 4-port combiner. It works more towards 100 ohms. It's kind of interesting how this works. It's a Wilkinson's lump sum. This is a relay that I obviously need to tighten down. All of this has been hand tied. There's only a couple zip ties in here. This is the way they used to make them. Now this initially was designed, depending on who you talk to, this unit was initially designed to be the driver for the Henry 8K. And I say no, it wasn't. I say the unit that was designed to be the Henry 8K is the other SS amplifier that I have here. We're going to show that in a completely separate video. This thing here is the cat's ass as far as reliability, functionality, drive, power output, heat dissipation, cleanliness. It's got an FCC sticker on the back of it. You can go use it everywhere. Literally, like 160 through 10. No problems. It's designed to do that. Government-funded money. This, the SS1200, the Henry 8K, the Henry 4K, the Henry 5K, all of those are government-funded, export-only models that were designed to go to embassies and overseas communication points. So the government paid Henry to develop these things for a contract. When the government was done using them, they kind of got filtered out into the American market. Technically legal. Ish. This sticker right here on the back, this one here, catalog number, serial number. This is an FCC qualification tag. That's a lot harder to come across than you think. It's still got all the labels on it, for God's sake. The only label it's missing is this one here, and this is RF output. PTT1, PTT2. This is designed to have your foot pedal with trigger mechanism come in here, and then you loop this into another amplifier. This plug here is for the remote. This is your fan speed select. The last two I've had in here, this has been completely deleted. So it's a neat unit. Let me show you some of the other goodies that came with this. So like I was saying, this is the blue face. I've never seen this before. Here's the face that normally shows up on them. This is a complete, ready to go, pre-wired directly from the factory Henry faceplate for an SS750. This itself is worth stupid money. Like silly freaking silly money, right? I don't think I'm going to sell that with this amp. I think this amp is going to have to stand on its own merit and its own legs. The face on this is in really good shape still. The meter has got a little crack here in the face, but everything still works, to my knowledge. We are going to have to replace a couple transistors in here, but that's okay. I got skills, right? You're not even able to tell I was in there when I'm done. It's a deja vu. You guys are going to hate me. This is the blue face. That's the yellow face. Here's another yellow face. Complete, still sealed in bag. So I have two replacement faces for this amp. If a guy calls me, I will sell these faces. But don't even freaking, this isn't going to be a $200 or $300 face. These are unobtainium parts, right? Like, beyond unobtainium. Like, more rare than Jesus coming back to walk the earth again. Rare. You know what I'm saying? Rare. Okay. This is 100% new. Directly from Henry. This is actually the remote that they supplied with this. If you're going to put this into mobile. The other thing that came with this setup is this unit here, which I didn't even know existed. I've called several of my friends, and they didn't even know that this existed. Apparently this is the third model of this ever to be made. It blows my mind. This is the interface kit. I don't want to lose that bag. It's got screws in it. Come here. This is the interface jumper kit. So, this is a self-contained, self-powered unit. This is designed to be plugged into the back of this amplifier and also the other amplifier that I have sitting here. And then plugs directly into this box. This is an automatic frequency determinant frequency switcher for your radio setup. This is the SS Auto. This is the catalog number. And this is serial number 01-03. So you would plug this Radio goes in this side, amp goes to this side. You would take this, of course you'd want to use something completely different, like a jumper cable, you know. But this would plug in here, and once you power the amp on, this thing automatically detects where you're at, what your business is, and what this needs to do corresponding to switch bands to be able to operate what you want it to do. This is a cool bit of kit, and I think what I want to do next is I want to open this and show everybody the inside of this control unit. This is a technological marvel. Not really, no. RF come in, radio side, RF come out, RG400 in between, because it's the best coax man's ever made. I don't care. Take your data sheets and wipe your butt with them. The best coax ever made. This is a very bespoke, hand-built piece of thing. Oh, the last time the inside of this thing seen light was probably in the 80s sometime. So I took a minute and I thought I'd try and get myself mentally up to speed to what I'm playing with here. The Henry 750, where are you? SS 750 was made from 1986 to 2005. So it's a 20-year-old piece of equipment. Last time this saw the inside of light, it was 20 years ago. It's not 01, by the way, it's D1. D103. Yeah, I tried to Google this SS Auto box. Doesn't show up as anything. Can't even find pictures of this. You can't even find people on eHam talking about this. I can't wait to see how this works. It's going to be interesting. Anywho, we very carefully put this back together. And I don't want to take this flat blade technology and scrape the erudite coating off the outside of this thing. I was scrolling around looking at the 8K stuff because I want to get my brain wrapped around that as well. I gotta go find the manual for that and probably sit down and read it. I've seen that somebody actually scrapped out a Henry 8K, but why? I don't know. I might click on the video and watch it later. I doubt it. I want to be really clear. Neither one of these pieces of equipment or any of these pieces of equipment I'm going to sell are meant to be used on the CB at all. Okay, get that in your brain. This is amateur only equipment. If you want an 8 transistor amplifier, I got lots of friends I can send you to, or I'll talk to you differently and we can sell you something else. This is not something that you buy to run on your CB. It's the wrong thing for you. Just know that. Just know that. This is going to be for all my ham friends to enjoy and lust over. Okay. First things first. Last things third. Safety is always fifth in consideration. Let's go over here. Let's turn this way. Take this out of the equation for the moment. So I know for a fact, when I bought this, the guy wasn't even shy. He goes, it doesn't work. It doesn't put out the right amount of power. I think that there's some transistors that are blown in it. I went ahead and hooked this up when I was at my friend's shop in New Jersey, my friend Tony's shop, and I determined that this transistor here and these two here are gone, smoked. They have left the chat. They're not in the conversation anymore. Jesus has taken the wheel. So, and this is just the cleanest one I think I've ever seen. A lot of pictures. There's one for sale right now on Craigslist. Like right now. The guy wants $2,000 for it. He's got a remote that looks like it's been beat to Jesus. The cabinet and the fins and the top and everything have had the erudite completely sanded off of them, which was a mistake. And not tested. And he wants $2,000 for it. Always wanted one of these, and I thought, man, I'm gonna keep this, hold on to it, put it in the closet, whatever. But I got some other things cooking in the background that I have no problem selling this piece of equipment. None. You guys will see. I'm going to take you on that journey with me, but we're still working our way in that direction, so it's not going to happen quite yet. Okay, well, I guess I better get to it and quit talking out my blubber hole. Let's remove some transistors and let's see what we got for results here. All right, so here we are back again. And let's test this one. Zener diode short. Now I know this because I already tested all these off camera, but the rest of these all test the same. It doesn't really matter to you guys on your side of the street. You just need to know that I got the right transistors in the right holes. Zener diode short. And the last one. I went and I pulled 4 used transistors out of my stockpile. Well, I'm going to have to call up my buddy Chuck Banner and see if he's going to sell me some transistors. I don't think so. Yep, Zener diode short. Okay, so all 3 of these are now going to get graduated up to into the end of your bag. All right, so I got 4 transistors here and 3 open holes. And I have a feeling that this guy is going to be bad as well. But we'll see how it goes in testing. Let me slap these 3 transistors in here and do some solder thermal compound magic, and we'll be right back. I just about had a small heart attack because I went ahead and I pulled this other transistor out, the one that was in this hole, and there's no component detected. It's a total of 4 dead transistors, so I thought, well, let's go ahead and let's pull one of them out. So I pulled this one out over here, and it's got a gain of 47, so that makes me feel better about things, but I'm up to a total of 4 transistors in this amp. You're an expensive girl, you know that? Okay, moving on. I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, so here. That's probably a better perspective for you guys. All right, so this thing is working. Took 6 transistors to get it working, but it is working. So here's the problem that we're running into. You shut the fan off. A couple different things. When the breaker is on, the amplifier is turning on. It's just in standby mode. It doesn't matter if I have the remote off, the remote on, I haven't locked out, it doesn't matter. The fan's coming on, staying on, that's not normal. The second thing is the bias is always being applied to the transistors, which is not bad. I mean, it's... I'm gonna have to dig in and see if I need to add another relay, is what I'm saying. This thing is 99% stock, right? And I don't know how far I want to go and modify it, but I do know this. I do have one friend of mine, he's a customer, and I talked with him about his Henry the other day, and he says that his Henry, if he leaves it plugged in, and then he gets up in the morning, goes and puts his hand on it, it's warm. But the fan doesn't turn on until you turn the actual amp on. So in theory, this should just be a breaker. That puts this thing into standby mode, which would light this LED saying it's having power. It doesn't matter. If the amp is completely in standby mode, the bias should be off. But the way the boards are wired is 100% of the 12 volt positive goes through this breaker. I'm wondering if maybe, because there's these little blue jumper wires that are on each one of the boards. I'm just spitballing. I haven't looked at the board design yet. I'm going to get into that here in a minute to see if maybe I can add another relay in here that works off of the PTT switch, that I can get the relay to close and only apply bias when the amplifier's on. And maybe get it so that when the breaker's on, the amp isn't actually on or doing anything until we choose to press our remote on button. Okay? So right now, if we've got this locked out to the remote, the amp is off until I hit the switch. I just spent the last 2 hours getting the switch to work on the remote box. Now here's the thing that I think is weird. The amp is now on, because I turned it on via the remote. We can see the red LED. Listen. Okay. So 17 and 20 is working. 40 is working. 80 is working. 160. We're getting on indicator, and 10 we're getting on indicator, but no relay click clack. So now we come up here to the front and we'll say 160. And the relays that we're listening for are these two relays here. This one here and that one down there. So now we'll go to the opposite end of the band and we'll see that 10 is working. So we have to figure out now, what's the story? Is it a remote issue? Is it a broken wire? It's obviously going to be a broken wire, but where is it? So those couple things are a few things that I need to address. The other thing is it doesn't seem to be working very smoothly on 10 meters. And I can see somebody's tried to play with the coil spacing here. We're going to come back to the last bit, the part that I just covered about the 10 meter section not working so hot. We're going to come back to it last. I want to get the remote fully working. This is one of very few that I've ever seen with an actual functional full up Henry SS remote. See, Henry SS RC remote control. I want to know why 10 and 160 meters aren't doing shit, but everything else is. So let's go down that rabbit hole. Let's take this case off and let's see what we can find on the inside of the remote. This magically started working. I think we might have an LED going bad here, so we'll see. Here's the 10 meter position. We're checking everything in here and finding a couple wires that are a little bit questionable. I resoldered a couple and I got the 160, or this is 10 and 160. It's the 160 meter module. I just screwed up again. 10 and 15 meters is working again, but the 160 switch is not. But if I come back here, I think the problem is in our Clinch Jones. So let's rip this apart and let's take a quick look on the inside. I'll come back to the remote in a minute. I hate Clinch Jones plugs. I freaking hate them. Like, I hate them. But it's what we had back in the day. All right, I'm gonna have to get out a punch and beat on this. Give me a second. Plug was dirty. Plug was really dirty. I'm going to put 4 new screws in this because the other hardware that was in this remote was just gross. It's all rusted and stuff. And you can tell this has been mounted a couple different ways. We're going to leave all that tape on there because I mean, if the guy who ends up buying this is interested in doing something with it, he can take the tape off. I talk about the Velcro tape. I don't want to take it off because I don't want to risk the gold erudite coating coming off of my fingertips. That responsibility can fall to somebody else, and I just put the thing back together backwards. Okay, so the remote is fully tested and proven now in my mind. They do offer the ability to have a mounting strap for this thing. Mounting strap is not included, and it goes from this screw to this screw, and you drill your holes in that. You don't drill your holes in this very rare unobtainium, one of two known to me to exist. Please note how I phrase that, known to me, because there's always that ham guy out there that's got everything, right? There's always, we all know that one guy. He's got everything, everything, right? And he might have one of these that's in better condition. I doubt it, but he might. With the remote, with the anodized gold piece of aluminum. Now, I could call my friends at Fat Boy and get an anodized strip of aluminum and bend it so it matched this thing and sand it just right, and but that's up to you. The end user is going to have to figure that one out. I hate to say it, but that's the way it is. Amp on. All right. I even checked the PTT, auxiliary PTT. So you could have this mounted some other place in your vehicle, and then you can take your PTT from your radio and trip the PTT and not have to run an RCA jack back here to these two connectors. So just putting that out there, that's something, right? Throwing that into the digital ether because it's something. Oh, now to the bigger question. Man, am I happy to get this remote working. This on-off button was completely frozen. Man, that it makes me happy in a deep, deep, dark place. Okay, so now let's move on to the bias issue. Let me go down that rabbit hole. I'm going to need the use of the computer here. It's over in the corner. Just give me a minute. Okay, gents, this is what we're going to do. We're looking at this. Now let's slide over to the computer. All right, so let's take our manual. This is page number 1 of our manual. There's only 11 pages in this manual, and it's interesting. So they are not joking that this amplifier will work on 180 through 30 megahertz. This had to be for export. Oh, excuse me. I don't know why I'm yawning. This had to be for export use only. And I say it because of this right here. Let's see where my cursor's at. If we look at the band coverage, use of 160 is 1.8 through 2.5 megahertz. Well then, 80 meters is 2.5 through 5 megahertz, 40 megahertz through 5.5 megahertz through 10 megahertz. And that's huge, 5 to 10 megahertz. Normally the band selector is set up a little bit differently because the FCC has got a hard rule if it's sold here in the United States that we're not allowed to get over here, right? 10 megahertz, then we go from the 20 band switches from 10 to 20 megahertz, and then 20 to 30. You can see this is full coverage, okay? RF input frequency range 1.6 technically through 30 megahertz, which differs from our top cover page, which says 1.8 megahertz. RF input, about 100 watts. That's what we're looking for. So output 1200 is going to be 1200 watts. Output 750 watts minimum is what they say for the SS750. I found that's not to be the case. Usually on the upper bands, these two here, it usually drops off to about 500-600 watts. Okay. The 100 amps, that's not relevant to us in the 12 volt world. It's going to literally almost double, so we're going to see close to 150 to 200 amps fully chooched out. First air cooled, DC amps. Okay. Shipped weight. This is the mobile. Okay. 35 pounds. Shipped weight base, 200 pounds. 1 year parts and labor. I think we're outside the warranty, so I think we can do anything we want here. Made in the USA powder meter. Okay, so this is our front and our back face controls. Standby OPT, local, and then remote. And the way they have this abbreviated is it's lock, like you're going to lock the thing into operation. Band switches, bypass switch, blah blah blah, on-off circuit breaker. Okay, cooling fans. This button here on our SS750 is fan high-low. Where on this they have it as power to fans. So in theory, we should be able to, well, I'll save myself the embarrassment of having to renege on that statement later. Okay, SS750 and SS1200 HF schematic diagram. And this is a chassis diagram, so we don't get an individual breakdown. Input, output, sampler, combiner. This is our splitter, our input splitter. Our 4 stages of amplification. So we got 2 transistors on each board doing a push-pull job. And here's our DC bus distribution. Standby operate. This is to our switch that drives a coil on a relay that switches 100% of the current in and out. Now what I think is odd is that they've got all this going through a 35 amp automotive solenoid but relay. Our output of our combiner and our filter board, in, out, and then we have to our RF connector. This right here tells me everything we need to know. We could have just easily deduced this by looking at the power wire on the board and looking at exactly what's hooked up to each one of these amp boards. Each one of the amp boards only has a 12 volt hookup to each one. Period. There is no auxiliary power hookup for independent bias. On the board, there's a solid trace that goes from the 12 volt lead directly over to the regulator IC, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. This is our very basic schematic breakdown of our amplifier board for the 1200 and for the 2XC. I don't know why they said X, but it's 2SC2879. It's Toshiba's. This is our voltage regulator for our bias. This is our RF input. We have our decoupling through our transformer, 740 picofarads on the input transformer, but we're not seeing that on our actual amp board. We got 600 and 600, total of 1200 puff on the output, our coupling, and then our output RF. This is our DC input. This is our choke. 6 ferrite beads and a 0.33 microfarad capacitor to ground is enough to throw the 12 volt lead out of resonance, so no RF wants to couple and run up this wire. Same thing over here. Exact same mirrored. Okay? So, this is our bias circuit right here. We have our DC come in. It's going to run through a 47 ohm 5 watt resistor. And then we have our regulator circuit, and then our output lead. There's no place for a switch here this is constantly tied into our 12 volt positive here. So these two leads are shared. So technically I could pull up each board, I could cut a trace, and I could add a relay to each board. More what I'd probably do is just give it a separate 12 volt supply with a choke on it, going off to each supply, going back to a common relay. Okay, so when the thing gets triggered, standby operate, or when we trigger it here with our PTT, PT1 and PTT2, we switch the ground off, piggybacked off the PTT, and then we could dump 12 volts onto this lead here. And that would turn our circuit on and off. The other way to do it is to cut the leg of one of the resistors, most likely this leg here, and dump our 12 volts onto it. Okay? This is our front service panel, our front diagram layout. And this is our filter assembly board. I have a feeling that we're going to have to refer back to this, especially for these two bands, the 20 meter and the 10 meter band. I have a feeling that a couple of these caps have decided to go south to Jesus, because I also have a feeling that somebody might have been running this on 11 meters, even though the person I bought it from was a very tight bow tie wearing amateur radio operator. Like, they put the bow tie so tight to their throat the blood's getting cut off to their brain. But it's okay. Most amateur operators started out as CB operators back in the day. All right. This is the manual for the power supply. This is our fan speed control. All right, let's slide back over to the amplifier real quick. So 100% of our shmoo, our DC 12 volt, attaches here, comes up and goes through this relay that's attached to the back wall. There's no way this is a several hundred amp relay, but they're capitalizing on the fact that you don't have to have that. The shorter the distance between the switch, you can have a smaller piece of wire, and that smaller piece of wire and relay can handle more shmoo, right? Over here on the back wall is our fan regulator. Now it only works in local mode. And what I just switched, and you guys didn't get to see me do it, was I switched this here. Remote mode. Let me back you out a little bit more. So we're in remote mode at the moment. We'll say remote on. Now we're in local control mode. Now we have high volt, or high, low. Now the fans are a little bit more tricky to control, but once again, we'd probably have to add another relay. I'd put it out here on the board someplace. Put that in standby. Sorry, pardon me. I just lied to you. This is standby operate. So we'd leave this switch flipped down, and LOC, which stands for local, and remote. Okay. So in standby mode, we have speed control, but not in local control until we go into operate or standby mode. So fan is actually working. Local, remote, amp comes on with remote. Now what is firing is this relay, which we could utilize that. We really could. I could take another 12 volt source, or take another relay. Let me show you what I mean. Let's grab case ground. And we'll grab the output of the relay. Okay. Nothing present. We have our 12 volt shmoo. Nothing present. 12 volt shmoo. Now even if we wanted to, because the current draws, I could actually do this all with one relay and it'd be really super simple now that I'm really starting to think about it. On each one of these boards is this transistor. I'll show this to you in a second. So the fans are constantly on, which drives me nuts. But as soon as the amp goes into operate mode, I'd want the fans to turn on, right? And I'd also want the bias to turn on. Okay, I see how I can wire this now. This will be simple, very simple and very easy. So let's go over here and let's take a look at this chip. This is our voltage regulator circuit. Oh, I'm hung up on some shit. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay. And why'd I buy the tripod with all the sticky little bits on it? Okay. Here we go. Now everybody can see what we're doing. Amp comes on, amp's off. Very carefully we'll probe this lead, because if we probe it wrong, we'll fuck everything up. This is our output voltage that we've probed onto. This is the hot side right here. This resistor. This is our 12 volt source coming in, 12 volt source out. So I could technically grab 12 volts here and off. We still have bias voltage. Nothing in, out. So where are we getting our leak voltage through here? That's the $6 million question. Referenced, non-referenced. Then it goes through this resistor and comes out on this leg. That's our control. It must be leaking back through the transistor itself, but then we pull all the 12 volt off. No voltage present here. No voltage present here. There's nothing present here. But yet, we have bias here. Now we have full bias. Bias off, bias on. Very interesting. Nothing here. Nothing here. Nothing here. Nothing here. Well, we've got voltage present here. Where's it coming from? There's no voltage on the input transformer. No voltage here. Oh, wait a minute. So you tricky little dick, where are you getting power from? I bet you it's coming out of this transistor here, which would be this transistor here that's on the board. There's a little op amp that sits in here. Very old op amp, by the way. I had one of these I had to replace the op amp in because it got blown up and it was dumping 12 volts straight out of the op amp onto the board all the time. But if the board's not getting power, let me think about this one for one more second. I'm not the smartest man in the room, and I'm sure some of you on YouTube have already figured out what I was miscalculating on. Man. Dumb. Okay, so the only thing that's got power is to this switch, and then the temp indicator, or the LED for the breaker. So we'll turn the breaker on. It's in remote mode. Turn amp on, amp off, amp on, amp off. So we're probed, that's what this meter is showing, is a constant reference to the input of this transistor. Okay, so we're looking at our voltage. The probe that I have in my hand, this one here, is so we can move around and measure the probe voltage everywhere. Okay, so let's turn the amp on. Now we have our bias. Turn the amp off. There's these little filter caps that are on both sides of the board. So the amp is off, the breaker is on. Let's go ahead and we'll short this out. And we're bleeding a cap off to 0. Take the short away, and the cap will start to recharge itself just on electrons that are in the air. So there is no technical bias on the transistor with the relay off, with the switch off. So my friend that's out there that has an SS750 that's been here, he's all hot. He wants this amp so bad. I'm here to tell you, send me that amp back. We've got something else going on. Like, this relay is staying on all the time, you just don't know it. Something's off with your box, but this one's working appropriately. So if I wanted to, and make it so that the fans work with standby, OPT, on, local, remote. Power on, green means good to go. Power off, local. So we're in standby, we're in operate. Now we can go pick our band out. All right. Things running appropriate. Turn the switch off. Remember, we've got to be in remote mode for that to work. Turn the switch off, and our cap bleeds down, but it then becomes stable. There's our voltage reading, and we short it out. Hold it at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull it away, and it starts to recharge again. Short it out. Yeah, there's no magic here. I was like, man, am I missing a wire that's attached to the board? My brain was starting to break for a second. I can tell I'm out of the mojo of doing this. This is the first video I've done since I've been back. So bear with me. I'll get back up to speed. I do want to add a relay for the fan, because it's not fair to the user that buys this and he decides he's going to put it in his mobile. And I think what they were planning on is that you would plug this thing in. It doesn't matter if you're on a couple batteries, if you have this thing hooked up or not. But on the base situation, you'd flip the switch off and the fans would shut off. So I'm going to add one relay, and we're going to take the output wire off the fan jack and we're going to remote it. So it's got to get the 12 volt send signal from here, which I could literally trip it from this bar. I could actually trip it from this bar if I wanted to trip the relay, to close, and allow the fan to hook up. Here's the feed wire for the fan lead. This is black and white wire. Black and white wire goes down to this relay. Is this relay muffed up? Let me pull that up and take a quick look at that. So we added a relay, and I grabbed it at the fan lead on the back of the amp, and I brought it up around, went ahead and cut the zip ties off, wired everything, and then rehand tied everything and put it back together. Kind of following in Henry's footsteps here and here. The lace tape thing is a lost art. Watched a whole YouTube video on how to do it. I realized, hey, I've been doing it right all these years. Good for me. Anyhow, relace taped this down, and now we're in top shape. So we're going to utilize our remote Let's back this out a little bit. We're going to utilize our remote, and now this magical thing happens. Shut the amp off, the fans stop running. Now the only thing that's on is this on indicator just pulling milliamps. So we go back to local. Now our breaker becomes our on-off switch versus this thing. Okay. So we'll go back to remote, turn on our remote, and we've got our 160 engaged. So this is where we start having the conversation about what does the amp really do. So here is a 1,000 watt slug and peak, 1,000 in average, 5 watt slug and reverse back from the bird, 10,000 watt dummy load. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. As you can clearly see, and if we were looking at this straight on, hello, putting 100 watts into the setup. So now what we're using is our ICOM 7300 for drive. So here's 160 in operation. Of course, when I step on the fans, they go into high mode. Listen. Off foot pedal, on foot pedal. Now what changes in this operation is if we press the switch. Press the switch, on foot pedal, it stays in low mode. Me personally, I think that's weak sauce. So we'll hit the switch again because we want to increase our airflow. Let me prop the amp up so we can get some air moving through the amplifier itself. Okay, let's zoom back in over here. Get all 3 meters in frame. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hello. 750 watts. Hence the reason why it's called the Henry SS 750. Now let's change our point of view again. And I want to show you guys me moving around here. So here's our input tune to show that this is appropriate. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. So you can either look here at the bird meter or you can look here at the square bridge on the front of the radio. So let's change our bands. Let's go to 80 meters. All right. Now down here on the very rare unicorn amplifier, now I'm going to engage the 80 meter band. Same drive. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Hello, 1 2. Hello, 1 2. As you can see, it puts out significantly more power on 80 meters than it does 160. Check this out. Hello, 1,000 plus watts, no problem. Imagine the kind of damage you can do from your mobile with 1,000 watts on 80 meters. Input tune. Hello, 1 2 1 2. And you know what? I think while we're messing around here, I made a mistake. Because now, this is where all the naysayers go, but is it clean? He's not going to show the spectrum analyzer. No, he'll never do that. No, he'll never show the spectrum analyzer, right? Let's see what it looks like. Radio, hello, 1 2 1 2. Radio and amp. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Perfectly clean power. 1 kW. So we know the potential's in the amplifier. We'll go ahead, we'll change the bands again. Now we'll go to 40. Same drive. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 1 2 1 2. 800 watts, 400 watts average. I do that again for everybody's viewing pleasure. Hello, 1 2 1 2. That's 790 or so. Let's go up here. Radio, hello, 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 hello. And yeah, we're looking at the smudgy little line that's appearing right. Here's my finger, here's my finger. right here at the edge of the spectrum analyzer. 111. Radio and amp. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Okay. And now let's go look at the input Schwers. Hello, hello, hello. Talking through the amp. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Now, as I've covered in many videos about multi-band, solid state, amateur amps like this board dictates 1000% of what's happening with this box's ability to put out power. It just does. So let's go ahead and we'll jump on up here. We'll say 14 megahertz. Yeah, let's see what it does. Hello, 1 1. Hello, nothing. Hello, 1 1. Hello, hello. 600 watts. All right. So now we're starting to see the change in the box. Let's go up here and let's look at Schwers. 111, passing through it. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Squeaky clean. But now we're starting to see our power fall off. Let's go back over here to the radio. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 1 1. Nothing. Hello, 1 1. All right, 21 megahertz. Out of the watt meter. Hello, 1 2. Hello, 500 watts. 500 watts. A clean 500 watts though. 1 1 1 1 radio. Oh, look at that secondary spike. All right, let's go on up here to 12 meters then. Hello, 1 1. Hello, 1 1 1 1. It's well within operation limits for the FCC's guidelines as far as deviance there. Hello. Now we're seeing 650 watts plus. We're on 12 meters. Now I can't drive this thing on 11 meters with this radio. But let's go look at say right in the middle of the 10 meter band. Okay, 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. It's just radio and pass through. Hello, 1 1 1 1 1 1. I don't know why I was so Debbie Downer on this because it's staying actually pretty consistent. 600 watts. Hello, 1 1. And hello, 1 1. Hello, 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 hello. And is it clean? It's very clean. Hello. That second order harmonic. Remember, we're talking into a dummy load, so we're sampling off what's going past the pickup. In real life, that's maybe an 1/18 of a watt, and it'll totally be attenuated by the antenna. So we don't really care about this is 0. All the way down here is 42 dBs down. We're not too worried about it. There is going to be a little bit of secondary harmonic. And what I wanted to experiment with was this. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Hello. If I take and I change the windings, instead of having them all spread out like we're at a prom queen show in Tijuana, we suck everything back in the way it's supposed to be. Hello, audio, 1 2. So now we're over 40 dBm down on that secondary harmonic. Hello, 1, 2. Hello. Now we're all the way down here by 47. So we took a couple more dB out of that signal by simply putting the coils back instead of them splayed out like a rainbow warrior here. Hello. That's sprayed out. So we spread the coils all out again. Hello. Versus changing our unihenries and making everything nice and tight. Hello. And it only costs us about 10 watts maybe over here on the final output side, but it's cleaner. Hello. Right at 600 watts. I'm going to call that good. I think that this thing is ready to go out the door. Okay, so the last thing I got to show you that actually works is the amp gauge. Hello. Now if we look over here at the bench gauge, hello, and we know it's dead on the money. Hello, 1, 2, hello, hello, 1, 2. Now I strongly suggest that you feed this amp at least 4 gauge power wire. If it was me and all I had was one battery in my vehicle, I would probably run aught gauge from the battery back to this thing because there's so much line loss on DC. All right. The other thing I think is very interesting, and it comes down to how the amp is wired. So I can shut this off and then manually drive the switches on the front and the LEDs light up. Because this is powered off the signal that's being sent to the filter board. These LEDs are powered off the power that's coming from these switches. So it doesn't correlate across the band. See this? Interesting, I know. So let's take this to local, and we'll say 75, 80 meters. Hello, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2. Focus. Focus, you fuck. Come on, focus. There it goes. Hello. 1, 2, 1, 2. Well, this is literally a one of a kind. And I don't care if I get to keep this thing or if it sells. It doesn't matter to me. This, actually the next 3 amps, it makes no difference to me if they go anywhere or if they stay here. I'm going to offer this for sale. This is a pretty rare piece of kit, especially with it having the blue face label. Very rare piece of kit. I will sell a replacement face for probably $400 or $500. They're incredibly rare. What I am going to do is I'm going to take one of the faces, I'm going to ship it off to one of my guys and see if we can get the backer plate recreated for these amps in vinyl. So then in turn I can sell that to all of you guys. These things are so pretty. Now in my opinion the Metron's a little bit better of an amp because the heat sink is about that much longer. But this thing is pretty scooching cool. Now we do have, which I didn't even know was in existence, the auto select box, which totally does away with this remote. That thing is the most rare piece of equipment I've ever seen. I've called a bunch of people that are supposed Henry experts and they've never even seen that auto select box. They didn't even know it existed. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do there. I don't know what I should do there. I mean, I would sell it, but somebody's going to have to offer me retarded money for that auto select. This unit here, I'm into it for 600, 900, 900, about $1,800, $1,900. And the cost for the amp and the remote, then plus the cost to repair it. So I've got to see an honest offer somewhere around $2,500 for me to make this worth it. It's $2,500 plus the ride, by the way. I'm open to offers. I might sell it for 24, but then I might sell it for 26. I'd like to get around 2,500 bucks for this. So if you're interested, you guys know the drill. You know how this works. Call, text, or shoot, even if it's after hours. If it's after hours and you're interested in picking up this Henry, shoot me a text. Hey, is the Henry still for sale? And if I don't get back to you, don't worry about it. I answer everything in the way it comes in. So if you're the first one to message, I'm saying, this is the rarest of the rare of the rare of the rarest. And I get it. There's going to be some guys out there that are ass hammering themselves trying to get this thing. Call me, text me. I was so excited a year and a half ago when this whole deal started to unfold itself. I could barely contain myself. So, gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed the look on the inside of an SS750 Blueface. Doesn't really mean anything, but Blueface, matching with remote, 2,500 bucks in mint condition, by the way. The case isn't scratched up, the meter isn't all broken, faded. I went out and I looked to see what was out there, and this is actually priced within reason. There's one other SS750 with a remote, and the guy wants $2,400 for it, and the case is all messed up, and the erudite coating is all rubbed off. Is what it is. If you're interested, give me a call. There's a couple others that are out there for sale, but at the end of the day, this is by far in the best condition with a remote. Gentlemen, my name is BBI. Without a shadow of a doubt, I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. Please take a minute, leave a like, give me a comment, share. Please share this video. Help it make the circulation around the web. I really, really would appreciate it. On that note, gentlemen, I gotta run. I'll see you. Click, click.